It was a very keenly fought election, 2024, in the Republic of Ghana. The dust has settled, leaving in its wake a massive defeat for the governing party, a concession from the candidate who represents the incumbent party or the party in office, and a return to power of John Dramani Mahama, the former president who has been vice president. Today, we are reflecting on the New Patriotic Party's campaign through the man who was in charge of communicating the message of Dr. Amadu Bawumia. He was very hopeful the last time I spoke to him on face-to-face. Today, I've brought him back on face-to-face to ask him what happened to the miracle that he promised. My name is Umaru, Sanda, and you're welcome to Face-to-Face on ChannelOne Television. My guest on Face-to-Face, I always try to remind him, was a DCE for a small place in the Eastern region. He's been elevated to work in a coordinating affairs at coordinating between local government and several other ministries to ensure that our local governance system works. He actually holds that position. However, when Dr. Amadu Bawumia constituted his campaign, he named this young man his director of communication, Dennis Miracle Aboagye. He's my guest on Face-to-Face. How are you doing?
Well, I'm fine.
I thought you were going to protest when I said you were a DC for a small village.
Oh,
right now the fight inside you has finished.
You know, when you go into that main battle and you come back, you have to avoid it a little.
You have bigger things to worry about.
You know, you are cleaning the bruises.
So me, I'm the least of your worries.
You are the least of issues.
Chale, why LM?
Oh,
I lose.
Yeah, it's a very devastating loss. You know, it's a very devastating loss. I mean, I have insisted that this is a loss that we didn't see coming. I mean, you go into an election, you win or lose, but to lose by this margin, it was quite shocking. You remember when Nana Akufo-Addo beat President Mahama in 2016 with 1 million. That was historic. It
was unimaginable.
Exactly. And in fact, very few people could have predicted that we could have a repeat in the very near future, especially as early as 8 years later, and for it to even almost double. You know, so it's something that we're really doing some very deep introspections and figure out what exactly went wrong.
You say you didn't see it coming. Nana Komia saw it coming in February. He said that when you were doing your tracking, as of February, you were 10 points behind, and you were working hard to try and even that up. It must have been a big struggle.
I think I spoke with Nana Komia yesterday, and he clarified that point. You know, initially the way they put it.
Yeah, I hosted him on Point.
Exactly. They put it as if, oh, you knew you were losing, but you went on no. You remember Dr. Bawumia was elected in November 2023. So it's actually a fact that, and I've always said it, as of November, we're trailing. I mean, in fact, in 2022, the conversation even was, what kind of message were we even going to tell the people? In 2022, it was almost impossible to even imagine how we even stand in front of the Ghanaian people.
So with hindsight, you started losing the election 2 years even before the election, but you thought you put in some measures to offset that.
Of course. I mean, that's something that, we're trailing because of the obvious economic challenges. The 2022 economic challenges were quite harsh. That was the time, I think the dollar moved from 5-6 cedis as at January to almost about 17 cedis as at December 2022. You know, that was a period where the UK, for instance, they had to change their prime ministers about 3 times within 6 months. You know, cement moved from 30 cedis to close to about 60. It was a very difficult period. And so in 2022, it was almost like a called off situation. But you realize that some part of 2023, that's where the recovery started. That's where we started getting back on our feet. So even prices of goods that had gone up so much, like cooking vegetable oil went all the way to about 1,500 there, to the 25 kg to about 1,500. But somewhere June, July 2023, it had come back to about 450, 550. So you could see improvement. So the expectation was that once we are seeing recovery, coupled with all the other things that had been intact, the social interventions, the social safety nets, the infrastructure development, you become quite hopeful. But let's put on record, it is not the case that we knew we had lost the elections in February, and yet we won. That's not the case. But the polls right from 2022, somewhere June all the way to, so you realize that somewhere from the second quarter of 2023, then people started saying, we're on track. It started closing up. And we constantly admitted that we are catching up. At some point, we even said that we even find it surprising that we've been able to catch up, this much. So yes, it was a difficult task. We had to really work our way back up.
What's the role of honesty in our campaigns? Do you have to be dishonest to get the votes, even if you knew that things were hard? Did you have to say no, things were not hard? Was that supposed to be the approach? Must that be the approach?
I want a single person on the Bawumia campaign trail, or let me use Bawumia, I think he's the point person. I want a single example of when Dr. Bawumia said things are not hard. He's never done that. In fact, if you pick his manifesto and you follow his campaign messaging, his manifesto and campaign messaging is all hinged on the back of things are difficult, but this is the proposition. So there was an absolute unconditional acknowledgement of the difficult situation we found ourselves. In fact, the closest we came to easing that conversation was, we are recovering, we're turning the corner. And if somebody tells you we're turning the corner, it means that there's an acknowledgement of us having some difficulty. So that assertion cannot also be correct. I think if you're going to even compare governments, you'd realize that it is this government that has actually been honest to accept that we have challenges.
Are you sure? You always told us that it was not your fault, it was Vladimir Putin's fault. And Ghanaians didn't know Vladimir Putin, they didn't care who Vladimir Putin was.
So you are saying two different things. Acknowledging that there are challenges, or not acknowledging that there are challenges, isn't the same as...
The ones you acknowledge, you attribute to somebody else.
Isn't the same as trying to explain what the causal issues are. They are not the same. So let's not confuse the two.
Okay.
So there's an acknowledgement that we are going through challenges.
You have not. So my point to you is that when people said things were hard, you either reminded them of the days when there was doomsday, where you had this coinage that the alternative was scarier. So as in, be content. In fact, to put it loosely, you were even boasting that Ghanaians should appreciate the fact that you are the ones in charge at this time, and that if you were not the ones in charge, it would have been worse. Now, that's not an acknowledgement. The times you acknowledge to, you say to us that, oh, it's happening. You just said it now, that in the UK it's happening, in Australia it's happening, and that is Vladimir Putin who is causing all of these things. That's not an honest acknowledgement. When you acknowledge, you're supposed to acknowledge fully with your chest, like John Mahama did. Like John Mahama did with Doomsaw. He said, yes, I've caused it, but I fixed it. But you know.
So again, then I get confused because like you moved around in circles and come to the same place. So the point is this: you talk about acknowledging difficulties, and I'm saying that in all the conversations in our campaign, there has been absolute unconditional acknowledgement that we are in challenges. That is a different, so that's the first point, that's the first part. There is nowhere Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ever said that, no, you're hungry, but no, you don't know, it's not true, you're hungry. There was an absolute acknowledgement of our challenges. He spoke about cost of living, he spoke about jobs, he spoke about cost of doing businesses, he spoke about how taxes and our tax regime is affecting business communities. He constantly spoke about that. That is an honest acknowledgement of the facts that there are difficulties. Now, if you're going to be honest, then you should also be honest about what the issues are, because the Ghanaian people deserve to know what the causal issues are. It will be dishonest on your part to try and shield the causal issues from the Ghanaian people. And so, is it not true that in 2020, between 2020 and 2024, the global economy went through crisis? That is honest admission of the issues. Is it not true that the COVID had a huge implication on the world economy and it affected countries at different scales? That is an honest admission of the issues. Is it not true that our trade partners, the Asian countries, the European countries, had some difficult economic challenges? The US had seen 40-year-old inflation, UK same. They were struggling with their labor issues. Even basic goods to consume were issues. Germany were struggling with oil and flour. Those are facts. Isn't it a fact that these things affected our economy? That is true. So it is rather dishonest if you contend this honest truth of what the causal issues are. That is the second aspect of the conversation. That does not negate your acknowledgement. Because beyond that, then Dr. Bawumia goes on to give proposals on how to deal with the difficulties. If you are not acknowledging the issues, why or how would you, tailor propositions for these things? So we need to understand that it is difficult for you to be explaining to somebody why he's hungry. But once you admit and acknowledge that the person is hungry, you have fulfilled that concern you had. But the person is not open to you telling him why he is hungry. He just wants food. But it is nowhere close to dishonesty if you still go ahead to tell the person that the reason why you are hungry is because. And as a result of that, I am proposing to. Let's be fair to the conversation in that respect.
Let's go back to the issues. Was it a difficult campaign to prosecute? Now that you have finished the campaign, was it a difficult campaign to prosecute to put Dr. Bawumia back in the Jubilee House? Difficult
in so many aspects. So first of all, you would realize that no political party in this country has been able to do a third term. That one in itself is a first barrier. I mean, so by the time you hit the 8th term, you have a lot of things to contend with. In fact, I think we had a growing population of close to between 2.5 to 3 million who had never experienced your opponent. And so if they are going to appraise and make a decision, they're only making appraisal on you. And they have no way to compare. But election is about comparison and making a better choice. So you have to contend with that number. That's a huge task. For you to even be able to get the 18-year-old that was 8 years old during President Mohammed's first
tenure. 10 years old when you took over. For
him to understand. So it was a difficult. And then you have to now contend with the issues of the economy, where now you are dealing with an economic crisis. Cost of living has gone up. People cannot afford the basic things they used to afford. Prices have doubled and tripled. And you have to explain to people that, yes, it's gone up, but still give it to me. I am the one in office, but still give it to me, and when I come out, bring it down. It was a difficult time, but we were determined to go through it.
There was this slogan NDC people kept repeating that my government is bad, but my government will be better. How were you able to maneuver your way out of that?
So it was an easy campaign for them, very easy, and it made it very difficult for us. Like you sought to find out. So, because I am in government. The prices of cement have moved from 30 cedis to 95 cedis. The reasons why prices of cement have moved from 30 to 90 is hugely based on the forex. Right?
And you are in charge.
And I am in charge. And the reason why forex is the way it is because of the global economic challenges and difficulties. But I have a proposal on how to deal with it moving forward. I am contending against an opponent that is outside government. And all he is saying is that vote against him and let me come. He doesn't have to say anything else. All he has to say is that, and that is why that coinage was easy. He's the guy. Why are you still listening to him? If he has any solution, he should bring it now.
You attempted as a campaign, and I don't know if this is something you're going to admit, to decouple Dr. Bawumia, the candidate from Dr. Bawumia, the vice president in the Akufo-Addo government. How easy or difficult was that?
I think it's post-elections. Everybody would say it shouldn't be a big deal because that's a fact, that's the truth. But in the midst of the elections, your opponent will make it difficult for you, and I think they did actually make it difficult.
While you try to dissociate the associates.
No, I mean the vice president is not the president. That is the truth.
But it was also a difficult sell, a difficult message to put across.
And And it becomes even more difficult when people are going through difficulties. You understand? So it's difficult. It was difficult. There's no two ways about that.
Do you not think that perhaps you shouldn't have used, with hindsight again, maybe you shouldn't have gone on that tangent where you were trying to separate Dr. Bawumia, the candidate, from Dr. Bawumia, the vice president and member of the Akufo-Addo government? Maybe you should have taken it whole and dealt with it.
Because you're not, Dr. Bawumia is not Akufo-Addo. That would be dishonesty.
But it would be difficult to separate the two.
But you want honesty.
Yes.
So why do you look for honesty in other aspects?
Yes.
And you want to be dishonest? The fact is that...
The reason it will be difficult and it will not be dishonest if you say it is the same is, you see, Dr. Bawumia was not just your typical running mate. He was a running mate with fire. Even his spouse or his wife was on that campaign trail of 2016, and we saw what she did.
Yes.
So people find it difficult to separate, especially when it was a ticket that went into the election together. And when Akufo-Addo said that he's a man who's going to run the government for me on the economy, he's a whiz kid and all of that. And when he's a man who did the press conference at a place not far from here, the College of Physicians and Surgeons, and said we had a man. You see, when all those things are put together, people would have it difficult believing that he's not Akufo-Addo.
So again, let's bring the conversation to proper perspective. Dr. Bawumia never ran away from the government. There are two different things here.
Okay.
That is why in his manifesto, all his engagement, he always speaks about what we met in office, what we have achieved as a government, where we are, the challenges therein, and what his proposals are to deal with the challenges. So it was an impression that was created. But in actual sense, there's not a single evidence of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia running away from the government, not even one. Even when he did his February 7th nationwide address, you'd realize that 80% of it was actually dedicated to the performance of the government. It was 20% when he was proposing. Now, where we found ourselves in a difficulty was you outline the government's performance. Everybody's listening. That one, they don't accuse you. Then, when you need to propose alternatives going into the future, you surely have to negate certain things, which even a certain president will do. Because you need to do an appraisal of your performance and know what you keep and what you... But in his proposals to probably deal with some of the things, I'll take this out, I'll take this out, people now perceive and interpret that as you are running away from the government. But 80% of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign was hinged on the government's performance. That is truth.
Did he have problems with his boss when he decided to go against his boss on some of the policies of the boss?
Because the boss knows that when you are president, you call your shots. No. Because Akufo-Addo has no such challenge. And Bawumia also has no such challenge. For example, if you ask the Ghanaian person why, or should give you two reasons why maybe you vote against an MPP government, they will mention National Cathedral, they will mention e-levy, they will mention bet tax. These are obvious things that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did not agree with. But if he doesn't agree with that, does it necessarily make those things disappear in the government? He's not a president. But then if he's going to become president, and he says that when I become president, I'm going to ensure that government doesn't spend its money to fund the National Cathedral, and that the churches and the religious bodies should fund it, and that when I become president, I'll scrap e-levy. And then obviously, it's easy for anybody to say, why are you campaigning against your own government?
When he did and said those things, did he not have problems with his boss?
No.
Was there no friction at all?
No, at all. Zero.
Akufo-Addo agreed with everything.
He doesn't have to agree.
He did have to agree.
No, he doesn't have to agree. You're not the president. You're not the candidate. Akufo-Addo doesn't need to agree with Bawumia. If he had to agree with Bawumia, he wouldn't have passed e-levy when Bawumia disagreed with e-levy. So he doesn't have to agree. And we don't always have to agree to work together. Umaru, I don't think that you agree with Samens and Bernard and Omane and Co at City on everything. But you haven't left City. It doesn't also mean that when you become general manager of City, you do almost everything Bernard is doing. Does it mean so? That's why I'm saying that in the heat of an election, it's a very convenient argument for you to use it against Bawumia. But post-elections, deep down your heart, you know that there was nothing wrong for... In fact, it could even be Akufo-Addo even going for another term and
he
saying...
He can disagree with himself.
Yes.
So it was not difficult for him to disagree and prosecute his campaign. Does it mean that he had the free will to do everything, run the campaign? He had his own machinery. Was Bawumia allowed to run everything? The government allowed him?
Yes. I mean, the government doesn't run the campaign for the party. The government is here, the party is here. The party brought the government. When the party is campaigning, the party doesn't need the blessings of the government.
So everything Dr. Bawumia did was his own personal beliefs. Absolutely. That if I become president, this is what I would do.
But otherwise,
Akufo-Addo didn't have to control.
Akufo-Addo is not Bawumia.
What about when he was going to concede? Did he have to call Akufo-Addo and say, listen, I have lost the team. I'm coming to concede. Did he have to do that?
Why does Bawumia, the flag bearer, the candidate, have to go and call somebody to
He's not just a somebody. He's a president. He's almost like a political godfather.
When you want to concede after an elections, whatever it is that you have to do to satisfy yourself, that I'm satisfied, I have to concede, you have to do it. But you don't need anybody's permission or blessing before you do that. You don't.
Was it easy to decide that let's go and concede, or was it difficult?
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's sole decision. And he had very good reasons. He's the one that came up. I was there with him. He is the one that said, listen, the numbers are clear. And this was around 3-something a.m. thereabout. He said, it's clear. Now we have about 80-something% of coalition, you know, or more. Whatever we have left, even if we bring it, it will not tilt it. So much tension. Remember, that was about, I think about 3-4 hours after the NDC had called on their followers to invade coalition centers. You know, so tension was building. We're already getting reports of coalition centers being attacked by NDC members. They were tearing pink sheets. Some of them were beaten, etc. So if you are sitting in your coalition room as a responsible statesman, and you've seen from your figures, and MPP, we have one of the best coalition systems in the world. You have seen from your system that you have lost the elections. And even if you are giving all the rest that is left, it will still not let you cross the 50+1. And the person decides that, let me concede so that it will bring down the tension. So that the MPP person that is in Ahafo, Esutifi, who is fighting tooth and nail, thinking that...
will know that it's over.
Exactly. And then it would also reduce the aggression from the NDC, thinking that they were beating people and maiming people for... Don't forget, one MPP person had died a few hours before that.
And one NDC person had also died in Tolong.
You know, so why should that continue?
So
when is a
there was no opposition from the campaign when he said he was going to concede.
No, but you can't oppose. He's the candidate.
Yeah, but you can still say that we are the ones who are prosecuting this.
No, you're not the candidate.
So nobody challenged it. You went to.
It doesn't. Even if you challenge that, that is. You see, the thing about teamwork is that you should expect disagreement, but that doesn't. It is what ultimately comes out. That is the most important thing.
This is Face to Face on ChannelOne Television. My name is Umaru, Sanda, Amadu. My guest is Dennis Miracles Aboagye. Okay, I don't know that I should say he was or he is. I don't know if the campaign team has been disbanded. But when they went into the elections of 2024, he was Director of Communication. We're going to do a post-mortem of 1, the NPP as a party, and 2, Dr. Bawumia. He is a man who has worked with him. Is he the person that they should put back on the ballot, or is it too early? And if they are going to do a post-mortem, what are the things that went wrong for them, and how would they fix that to recover in the next 4 years? Please stay with us. Yeah, welcome back. This is Face to Face on ChannelOne Television. My name is Umaru Sanda. My guest is Dennis Miracles Aboagye. I was saying before the break whether I'm not sure whether you are still the Director of Communication, or should I say former, or you are. What are you?
I was.
So has the campaign been disbanded?
Oh, but it is no campaign.
Oh, but maybe you a bit.
So you do what you do. What are you doing? There's no campaign.
There should be a formal ceremony to disband it.
But there was no formal ceremony to arm it. That's what they call it.
and
unband it.
The postmortem that you have done so far, what is it telling you? What happened?
Well, I think it's very early. Very early. For us, especially for Dr. Bawumia, I think what was important for him is to protect the sanctity and the sanity of this country's democracy, and continuously, elevate the image of this country. And for me, I think we need to really applaud him. I don't think we are amplifying that gesture enough. That the timeliness.
He didn't have a choice, did he?
Oh, he did. I mean, he could have. The NDC have lost Ablekuma North, and they are burning pink sheets. They have lost Suhum, and they are fighting. They have lost Nsawum, and they are fighting. So he could have taken that option. So let's not discount that gesture. I think it was a huge feat for us as a country, for us to have a leader like that. The NDC basically was holding. You saw them holding the returning officer at Okaikwe Central and saying it. So say after me. They say it, and then he says it. You saw the petition from the Tema Central Electoral Return Officer. You saw his report and what he's written. So he had choices.
So he could have said no.
But the NDC are doing it. They are doing it at the moment. So they are doing it. So he could have done same.
No, but if your defeat is a narrow one like happened in 2008, you could fight it.
I'm saying that the NDC have lost a lot of seats hugely, but they are doing it.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
So Umaru, let's not create. Let's heal when it is there, so that others will learn from it and find it attractive. It is a big deal. It is a big deal. He had choices. He could have contested almost all the coalitions and say, let's run it again, and then ban it like the NDC are banning it. He had choices.
That would be criminal.
Yes, exactly.
So he didn't have a choice because he wasn't going to do criminal.
So because he's not like them. Because he's not like them. You understand? So we need more people like him.
They handed over to you power in 2016
we need more,
as well.
But we handed over power to him in 2009.
Yes, and they handed over to you in 2000
exactly.
when they had Jerry wearing military boots and civilian.
That is why we need to hail this and not just trivialize it. Because even in these same elections where he conceded, and even watch as CS was international organizers say, why did you concede so early? Okay, even in the United States today, they are still contesting their 2020 elections. Yes.
No, it was Trump who was contesting.
Yeah, the Trump one. They are still contesting and he's back. They still didn't finish it.
Georgia.
It's still being contested and he's back. So really, it's something that we need to really hail. And that is something that we need to highlight so that others will learn from it. We shouldn't always highlight the negatives. We should highlight positives like this, so that people will find it attractive. We'll say, hey, when Bawumia did it, you saw all the applause and all, so let me also follow suit.
Do you think, and there's a view that when he conceded, it meant you had given up, and that also affected your parliamentary result because you hadn't finished parliament and then you still have some of them being contested. But the man who is leading the whole team says, we have lost. So because of that, it became problematic for you. So
because I opened my door when I was going to sleep, you should come and rob me.
Yeah, but
I'm just making a point. You see, so let's call out the NDC on these acts. Umaru, the NDC is forming government without any hindrance. They have no reason to do what they are doing. It is criminal.
You did it for them in 2016.
It is illegal. It is criminal. They don't have to do what they are doing. You don't have to ban ballot papers and pink sheets. You don't have to put a gun to a parliamentary candidate's head and tell him to sign a declaration.
In 2020, you did similar things.
Who? A parliamentary candidate. Techiman South. Who? Yeah. MPP did what?
People died.
So you have investigated and confirmed that it was an MPP that killed those people.
MPP was in government.
Exactly. So again, so you are in government. You are responsible for the security of the people. So that's fair. But you have no evidence to show that the MPP as a political party did what the NDC is doing.
But this one, NDC hasn't claimed responsibility for the
North, the videos are there when they are wearing MPP t-shirt and saying Yebesheno. Ablekuma North, we've seen the MPP contesting and fighting it. We've seen it in Okaikwe Central. We've seen it in Tema Central. What are you talking about? You see, when you do these things, what happens is that you are not only emboldening what is happening, because it's like you're not ready to condemn these things. It is clear, it is evidence. There is no question about it. Call it out. Let it be known. And then let them now use that shame to begin to talk to their people. But if we continue to say, we don't even know it's NDC, then we are continuing to embolden them because it is NDC.
When we went into the elections and returned and the victory was not yours and the defeat was huge, a lot of your party members said it's because MPP people didn't show up to vote. As part of your post-mortem, is that something that you're going to start saying that, your people didn't show up to vote as well?
So like I said earlier, it's very early days yet. But preliminary, there are certain facts that you can't run away from. For example, the turnout was a factor.
Yeah, but the turnout could have affected both parties.
No, not true.
Why did it affect only you?
So based on data, you cannot use assumptions. So for example, if 10 people had turned out and they had voted, 7 of them had voted for Mahama, you could use that easier assumption. But at the moment, if you have in your strongholds areas where if 10 people vote, 8 will vote for you, just 50% of them showing up, and then you have about 60-70% showing up in your opponent's stronghold, then it's one of the earliest preliminary conclusions you can come to. It doesn't mean that's the only thing, but it is a fair ground at this point. When you do a deeper, detailed analysis, maybe stronger ones could come up. But the fact of the matter is that in Greater Accra, close to about 600,000 of the people who voted for MPP. So MPP got over 1.2 million. And this time, MPP and NDC got about 1.3 something million. But this time, MPP gets just about 680,000. 680,000. Then NDC remains around the same 1.2, 1.3 million. If these 600,000 had added on to John Mohammed's votes, and NDC is getting 1.8 million, then you can easily conclude that the people who voted for you previously are very, very, very
have switched.
Or they love and then they voted for it. But it's obvious that these people just didn't come. They just did not show
So the NDC maintained its base. You couldn't get your base.
You dropped by almost about 50%. So it's in Greater Accra. So
and almost everywhere.
Yeah, so that is not the only conclusion. Several could come up. But preliminary, this is the one that is grounded in fact and in data. And in fact, if you talk to a lot of your reporters, they will tell you, at some point, you could see people standing in our strongholds in the police station and telling us they won't vote. Like they wanted to spite us. They just wanted to show us that we did not vote. I had to go to my constituency 3 times in the course of the day to basically go and beg and say, go and vote. I go to the area and I see them in the polling stations. They are standing, observing.
It's not as if they've gone to work.
They came to the polling station.
Yeah,
they said, oh, they see me and they tell me, so they can't see themselves voting for John Mahama, but they just want you to protest and tell you that we are not coming to vote.
Dennis, you had the government machinery behind you. You had the Bureau of National Investigations. You guys did pollings upon pollings. All the investigations you did, you didn't see this apathy from your party members. You didn't see it, or you saw it, but you thought, oh, at the end of the day, they are elephants. They will come.
We saw it and worked towards it, but maybe it wasn't enough. We saw it and we
because it looks so bad, huh?
Yeah, maybe it wasn't enough.
Because if they were there,
if you listen to our campaign, it was all about let's get out and vote. I mean, I used to even say on some of the platforms that if you don't vote, you have automatically voted for the NDC. You know, that was the conversation.
So they knew this and they were still at the polling station. So, because what you are saying to me is that, so they were standing there, but they won't vote.
You can even ask some of your reporters, they were there.
I mean, I went to polling stations where there was nobody coming to vote. Your agents, when I spoke to them, said, oh, they are going to get the people to come and vote. All the other agents.
Our people who went to their homes to go and, get out to vote, they will go and tell us, oh, you see, the person says, I don't want to vote for John Mahama, but I don't want to vote.
And this is why.
I mean, so again, admittedly, there were various issues that we can't run away from. The cost of living is one, Umaru. The cost of living, for which reason we tailored our manifesto to address, was an issue. You know, and so once we tailored our manifesto to address that, clearly it was an issue that was of concern to the people. And it's quite obvious that from these votes, the people felt that let's just let you go. So
they were disappointed
in us. It is very obvious.
But the government didn't see this disappointment.
You see it and you have to work towards it. So you keep saying we didn't see, we did. But the effort is to work towards ensuring that you're able to.
Yeah, but that was a very poor work because the thing is,
I mean, at this point, if
it is true that genuinely your people didn't come out to vote, that's an awful lot of people who decided simply that I won't vote.
But the data is clearly showing that. Yes. The data, this one is data. The data is showing that.
It means that you guys have been very incompetent.
Well, I mean, at this point, I always say that when you lose an election or you lose a competition and you get such feedback, you take it.
You were horrible at governance.
I apologize for that.
You are essentially the worst government in the Fourth Republic.
I don't know how you are doing that. Based on the indicators.
Yes, based on the number of people who refuse to come and vote for you.
If that is your analysis, then why not? If that's your analysis.
I don't like how you are conceding to everything.
Oh, but what should I do? When you lose a contest, if we had won,
yes.
They would say, hey, that thing they did, it was a master stroke. Mm-hmm. They knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. That thing they did, they were sure. Hey, these guys, so all this while they were not listening to this thing means they knew what they were doing. But when you lose, you've lost. You understand? When you lose, you've lost. Have you seen the way people were grilling? And when I bring people said, the reason why I use football a lot is that I try to highlight the psychology of competition. You see the way people will be grilling Bellingham and Mbappe when we lose, when Real Madrid loses just one match. But when they win, you see the way they hail them. That's how politics is all about. So at this point, for me, I think that, and that's what I've been telling everybody, that let's embrace it. Whether you like it or not, you've lost. Let's embrace all the criticisms, all the feedback, and only makes us better.
You have always said that the presidency and the parliamentary level should be separate and distinct, and that parliament elections are generally local issues. How come your MPs didn't win then?
The sins were applied, the sins were the sins of the center.
But it's not normal, right? Does that happen that...
It doesn't happen often.
The president's sins will be visited on...
It doesn't happen often. It doesn't happen often. That's why even in 2020, you realize that there are some constituencies that the president won and we lost the seat.
Yes.
But this time, I think it's quite clear that this time, the party was voted against.
It was a whole party, not necessarily the candidates.
The party was voted against.
Are you sure it's not Dr. Bawumia's unpopularity that you thought was very popular?
I'm looking for one person that is able to, evidently make that point. Because, you've heard all the commentary since we lost these elections, and it's quite clear. It's quite clear that Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's capacity, his level of innovation, creativity, and his application to duty is without doubt. There is no candidate that worked harder than him. No candidate that worked harder than him. There's no candidate that distinguished himself campaign-wise than him. But, you can be at the right place at the wrong time. You can.
There are people who say that it's Akufo-Addo lost the election. What's your view?
I don't know. It's the government that lost the elections.
Akufo-Addo's government.
I have learned a lot in this life, in my very early age, to realize that you win as a team and you lose as a team.
So you join. You're not going to...
I was an MC. It is possible that in some areas, they needed a little bridge. Akufo-Addo has put me there. He's not in my constituency. He's not in my municipality. So it is possible that I didn't do it. And the people will be angry at the government. It wouldn't necessarily be Akufo-Addo's direct fault. I could have contributed to it. All other appointees could have contributed to it. People sitting in oil companies, people sitting in financial institutions, people sitting in public institutions that have been entrusted with the responsibility by the president. All of us, it is the aggregation of our work that determines or defines the president's work. So I've actually heard a lot of people say Akufo-Addo. It's okay, that's your view, but I think that it is appropriate when we say the government, which all of us are part of. It is the government, and we have to go back, reflect, reassess things, and reorganize ourselves and get back.
Which is what I'm going to come to. So there's going to be a Mahama government very soon, but before then, your own party, what's the recovery process going to be like? How are you going to recover? Can you even recover?
Oh, we've done this before. Remember when we won 2016 elections? Some people said the NDC had collapsed. 1 million, remember? Mm-hmm. 1 million. They this one they can't cover. It's the beauty of the day. The point is that we're going to support the President Mahama. Clearly the country voted for him to scrap A-levy, scrap betting tax, to make sure that in public sector institutions, people are working 133, make sure that people have jobs to do midnight, and all. We are going to support him to implement it because the people have entrusted power to him. For
when
him
you
to
say support,
to,
you mean force. I'll come.
I'll
ask you what kind of opposition you're going to be. But I just want to
support him to do that.
I want us to deal more with the MPP as a party.
So we are going to rebuild. We clearly, if the people didn't turn out, then get them to turn out in the next elections. Clearly, get the people to trust in you, in your formidability, and get out. And
that would mean that you shouldn't do Edidija.
Whatever it would take.
Do you agree that you've done Edidija?
I really don't know. You can't. I don't think there can ever be a time where there would never be that, because I don't see how a party that gets 6-7 million votes will be able to come to power, and every person will say, "Oh, my party is in power, and I'm happy." So surely you're going to have 1 or 2 people that you're either going to step on their feet or toes. You're not going to be able to satisfy, and that's likely to come. It's about the management process.
They said that you should have done a reshuffle so that Team B would also come, so that the wealth.
It's one of the issues that people say that we asked you for that, you didn't do it. We are worried about that, so we are not going to.
There's another view that you have a weak national leadership, national executive.
It's very subjective. It's very, very, very subjective. When you sit at the room and you understand all the ingredients, you understand it better. It's very subjective. I think that we leave that judgment to the people who take the decision on the national leadership. It will be unfair for anybody to be able to sit, back and do that critical analysis. But eventually, I'm sure the party people, the delegates, they would pass that judgment. And whatever judgment they pass, that is what all of us will rally
When
around.
NDC lost the election in 2016, the argument was whether it was a jockey or the horse, whether it was John Mahama or the party. The NPP conveniently said it was John Mahama that was a problem. This time, who is the problem? Is it the party or the flag bearer?
I think we're not the ones saying. I think it's clearly the government.
It's not your candidate. You don't think the candidate was unfit to be your candidate?
I don't think so. I mean, from the feedback, and this is not my view, the views that I have aggregated and the feedback I've gotten, I think that the confidence level in the candidate is unshaken.
You think people vote for the emblem more than the picture?
People vote for several reasons.
Yeah, but if there's a defeat, is it the emblem, which is the elephant that lost, or it is the picture of the Waliwali boy that lost?
We've lost. The MPP and its candidates have lost the elections.
Yeah, but it's a candidate that is being sold. Because if Akufo-Addo won 2 times,
it is difficult.
Akufo won 2 times.
To be erroneous, to be very erroneous for anybody to say the emblem or the candidates, because it's a cocktail of issues that come in to determine the outcome of the elections. So at this point, conveniently, depending on where you stand and what you want to achieve, you can pick what you want.
Can he recover as a politician?
He lost as a running mate in 2008. He lost as a running mate in 2012. And he came back in 2016. He's gone through this before.
So he can come back?
He's recovered.
Can he be put back on the flag for the MPP?
I think
should he?
I think anytime Dr. Amadu Bawumia decides that he's going to run, I'm very confident the party will rally behind him. Because the party is clear in their minds that the man's level of creativity, his leadership qualities, and innovation is something that Ghana needs.
So you still believe that he's the best person to give you the job?
Without doubt.
This face-to-face on ChannelOne TV, my guest is Dennis Miracles Aboagye. When we come back, what kind of opposition are they going to be to John Mahama? And I don't know whether I should ask him his hopes of a Mahama government. 4 years only, that's how many years Mahama has to serve before he leaves constitutionally. What should he expect? What should we expect from them? Yeah, welcome back. This is Face-to-Face on ChannelOne TV. Dennis, what kind of opposition should we expect from the MPP in the next 4 years?
What I know is that we are not going to be a disruptive opposition.
Because you can't be disruptive. Right now, your numbers in Parliament, you are just like the public gallery.
Oh, but we had 20 people protesting for 1 week on the streets of Accra.
So you mean
that's what disruption. Yeah,
you can do it.
You want to destroy, you don't need plenty people to destroy.
Yeah,
you understand? You don't need plenty people to destroy. But we are not going to do that. And when I say disruptive, see, this government really suffered. Really suffered in the hands of the opposition in Parliament, and it was deliberate. It was strategically done to, compound the challenges of the government so that they look bad in the eyes of the people. You remember how long it took us to pass the E-levy? In fact, within the period of waiting to pass the E-levy from 2023 November or December to when it was passed somewhere late May or so, we're downgraded like 2-3 times. The dollar lost close to about, it moved from 5 cedi to dollar to close to about 8-9 cedi. A lot of things happened, and you admitted that if we had passed the E-levy the time we wanted to pass it in 2023 November or 2022 something, there was, I said 2021 November when the budget was being read, there was no way a lot of things would have happened the way it happened in November. So basically everything you take to Parliament, you have opposition, you eventually get it, but you have to go through so much of wait period and all that. That was a disruption. Yesterday I heard the speaker call Aboagye majority leader. Then I shook my head.
No, but the Supreme Court said he's a majority.
But after the Supreme Court ruling, he came back to Parliament. Did you hear him call him majority leader at that time? You know why he's calling? No, but he came to say it.
But he came to
and you know why all of a sudden he's calling majority leader?
Why?
Because agenda has agended.
I don't understand.
And once agenda has agended, let's move on. All of a sudden yesterday now he's accepting Supreme Court.
But I
am saying that after Supreme Court ruling he came. But he still refused to call him majority leader.
He was not
that hearing. It was there. It was there.
But he was not invited to call him that or not.
No, but I'm saying that yesterday, all of a sudden. So it tells you that the NDC actually utilized Parliament very well to disrupt the government. but we are not going to do it.
Or rather to check the government.
No, it was disruption.
Excesses.
It was disruption. I mean, if you
they said they will not
if
allow
you say you won't allow me to pass e-levy, and then you disrupt me here for 5 months, then the day I am passing, if you sit there, I cannot pass it, you leave and say you stay your workout. I mean, Charlie, come on. But that's just by the side. That's just by the side. So we're going to support them. Because, I mean, we think that what the Ghanaian people have voted for is what we should support. A reset. You understand? And we respect the views of the Ghanaian people.
They say they will catch you, aura.
If somebody has committed a crime, catch the person.
They say you will cough the money.
Catch him. If the person has
you are
committed
not afraid.
a crime.
People are not afraid. They say you are hiding V8, you are running
catch
away.
Him.
Some of you are at the airport queuing. They are
catch him. Catch him. You see, the NDC, they are misleading the people with all these things. There are laws. If you think Umaru has committed a crime, you don't have to talk. Go and take Umaru, and there are processes. But I heard one of the deputy communication directors when they say certain way Captain Smart on TV. Then you mentioned the name Umaru, Sanda, Aboagye, Fred, Aboagye, Aboagye. You are not the judge. You are not the court. You don't commit people to jail. You don't commit people to court. And the amazing one was even when I saw Bawumia also preaching ora.
Why? But why?
It's fine. I mean, you understand later. But the point is that anybody that commits a crime against the state, the law should deal with the person. You understand? And I have no, issues against that. The law should deal with anybody that. But we are not in a banana republic. You can't just catch people in traffic and throw them in jail. It doesn't work that way. There are processes, there are procedures, there are laws. Let's allow that to happen. But the way you've created an impression as if tomorrow morning, if I'm traveling, you will stop. How can you stop me at the airport? If you want to stop me at the airport from traveling, you have to go to court. You can't just come into the queue and, so I saw somebody post and said, 2 people arrested at the, how are you doing it? You can't do that. There's no law that can just say that when you see me and you are NDC chairman and you see me at the airport, you drag me out.
Because you're running away, they should not let you run away.
No, even if I run away, there are laws that can bring me back. And if I'm running away, you don't determine it. It should be the law, the courts, you understand? But it's a good thing. It's a real good thing. Because the laws are there already.
So you're not scared of aura?
Why? What is there? What is aura?
That if we are done looting.
Go and take it. Go and unloot anything that has been looted. Do it. You understand? You have to do it. Because that's the law. The laws are there. But you create an impression in the minds of your people that you be in traffic and you get that in traffic and put, you can't do that. You
have not been an MP before, but you would admit that Parliament is going to be difficult for your side because you can only be heard, but you can't.
It won't be difficult. I always keep saying this, and I hope there's time. Let's have that discussion. It won't be difficult. It won't be difficult because Umaru, even 137, anything the government wanted done, you did it. You can only delay it. What were you going to do, even if you didn't have the, how do you guys call it, mini micro?
Observer mission.
What were you going to do with it? What were you going to do with it? You'll still be heard. All you need in Ghana's parliament for your day-to-day government running is a small number above your opponent. You don't need plenty. You understand? The 2/3 that you have, you can't use it to do some of the things you claim the critical things you think you can do with 2/3, some of them you have to come to the people for a referendum. You are a lawyer or a law student, you know these things. You understand? So some of this, you say it to excite the people. But eventually when it comes to the reality,
it doesn't.
Even people who have committed murder, they are in court and they get bails and they get escort and they get a hearing. Even people who armed robbers that were even caught in the act of stealing grass, sometimes they go to court and the judge say they won't run. Let them, So there are laws. Go to court. You would go to court and go and deal with this.
So you foresee.
But in Parliament, for me, I don't see what a 125 minority would do that an 84 minority cannot do. There is no difference. What can you tell me one big difference in the 137 apart from disruption? The 137 we had, apart from the fact that it delayed the progress of this country.
The government.
It did not. Tell me one thing the government wanted to pass that it didn't pass.
Your budget.
I am telling you that eventually it was passed.
Your ministers.
It was all done. It was all done. Tell me which one wasn't done. No, so, but it's a very serious matter.
As a Ghanaian, forget that you're an MPP person, John Mahama, what do you look forward to seeing him do in the next 4 years?
He should implement what he promised the people. He shouldn't disappoint us. I didn't vote for him.
The things,
but I'm Ghanaian.
If you had voted
but I said Ghanaian, you didn't say those who voted for him. He shouldn't disappoint us. Yes. He says that the public sector is going to run 3 shifts.
24 hours.
So I'm expecting that our labor, public sector.
The office you currently run?
Yes, we'll bring 3. You understand?
So one Dennis in the morning?
One in the afternoon, one in the evening. You know, the local government, the chief director, 133. The head of PPMU, 133. We'll support him to do that. And I'm sure our MPs, even though they don't have their vote, they will shout, yeah, they will support him to do that.
Do we have money to support that?
I'm sure he's aware we have. That's why he promised those things. And I think that if we all agree, one thing that we agreed during the campaign was that we needed to create jobs. And if you can create jobs using 133, which you've promised. And at this point, it's no longer if. That is why we've voted for you. We'll support him. So he needs to cancel e-levy. We'll support him to cancel e-levy. We'll shout yeah to support. We'll support him in cancelling bets, and we'll support him to make sure that all first-year students in all tertiary institutions are doing it for free. You know, they are going to those schools for free. We'll support him.
You support him to implement free SHS in the best way possible?
Yes, we'll support him. He shouldn't touch it.
What will you not support him to do?
We'll not support him to not implement 133. We'll not support him to not implement 24-hour economy, where he would give the factories subsidized electricity. We will not support him. If he says he won't do it, we will not support him. No, we'll use our mini micro to...
Observer mission.
No, it's not observer. I'm telling you that 20 of you came to 37. You were 25 or something. You came, and you managed to hold the entire country for at least 1 week.
For 3 days.
So we will not support him. We will not support him if he says he will not cancel a levy. He has to cancel it. We will not support him if he says he won't cancel bet and tax. He has to cancel it. We will not support him if he says he will not make tertiary first year free. We have to make it free.
You're just talking about
so those items
are you hopeful of this country?
Yes.
You have hope?
Yes, I have hope.
Do you have hope that in 4 years' time you people can come back?
Yes.
And this is hope that is informed on something that is sitting on.
You know, the Ghanaian voter is clearly shown us that they are sophisticated and that they don't just go to the polls to go and vote. And you also are aware that every time the issues confronting the country is different. So be rest assured that in 4 years, the challenges we are discussing today, some of them may be resolved. Others will remain, but there will be new challenges. When the Ghanaian voter is going to vote in 4 years, he's not going to vote for Bawumia or Mahama because, or an NDC candidate because they are just in it. But what is the solution you are proposing for the challenges? I am convinced that the Ghanaian people voted for Mahama's solution. Honestly speaking, that is my belief. And I'm very sure that in 4 years' time, it is the proposals, the propositions that
will be used as a basis to judge.
Exactly, for people to...
You are staring opposition in the face from...
We are here.
You as a person. January...
I'm already in opposition.
From January 8th, what is Dennis Miracles about going to do?
Oh, but what was I doing before I came to public office in
8 years ago, 4 years you were MC, 4 years ago.
No, I came to public office 8 years ago, June 2017. I was in private sector.
So right now, what are you going back?
I'm going back to private sector.
What will you do?
But do you know what I was doing before I came?
No.
So
I want to know, what do you do?
When I get there, I'll come.
Let us know.
I'll come and do business.
This is free TV advert. If you tell us what to do.
When I want to do my advert, I'll package it well.
People will come and do business.
No, I'll package it. The last time I checked, one politician announced his business, and 3 days later, all NDC people start buying from him. I beg you. Let people continue to buy from me.
But can you survive?
It is, as we speak, it is likely this morning you consumed something from my company,
I have to go
or my business. But if I tell you right now, I'm sure Fred will not. I beg you, protect me on that score. If you want to do adverts for me, that's the protection you give for me. Allow my business to run in peace.
Dennis, why are you called Miracle?
Dennis Edward Miracles.
Why are you called Miracle?
But I'm not Miracles. You know,
the miracle was to put Dr. Bawumia in the president and put a Fulani woman as first lady. You have failed. Fulani people, you're angry with you.
You know, miracles, sometimes you can do it and come back and then, you know.
It's like the miracle of Philadelphia.
It's about time. You see, God's time, you see, 1,000 years is God's 1 day. So
let me end the show.
It's just a matter of time.
This has been Face to Face. I had a discussion with Dennis Miracles Aboagye. We'll be back next week on Face to Face. Thank you for watching us.